everybody, Trienne here, your leadership performance coach. Today, I wanted to come in and specifically talk about some different leadership styles and maybe give you some ideas on how you can find yours. And maybe you haven't thought about a style before, but being a good leader is really important both for us personally and professionally. And I just wanted to give you some different ideas, and maybe you find one that you say to yourself, well, this is a style that I would really choose, and I want to act more like that, and I want to become that type of leader. Or maybe you hear one that you're like, that is the type of leader I am, and I want things to be a little bit differently, right? So our first step in transformation when it comes to our leadership style, a lot of times it's just self-awareness. And as soon as we can start to look at the things that we don't like and we decide, I've seen this and I do like this, then we can figure out what's in the gap. And then we can move more towards being that leader that we want to be. And first of all, I think we might want to look at, Trienne, what is even a leadership style? So when I first graduated, I remember looking at leadership and being like, and I got my supervisor role, and I thought, oh my gosh, what does this even mean? And when I looked up leadership in Wonderful Webster, it said to lead a group or an organization. And I'm like, okay, so that kind of tells me like the lead part, but how do I do that? What do I do? And I was really bad at it. I mean, is there anybody else when they first started in a leadership role or being in charge of something, like you just did not do a good job? Am I the only one? So the reason I didn't do a good job is I went through that whole burnout phase where I thought that I'd do everything myself. And I also went through that stage where I can do it faster, I can do it better, I can do it quicker, I can do it more efficient, whatever, rather than taking the time to really develop the people around me. And that was the key. Once I learned how much better our team, our organization, our project, whatever it was at the time could be, once I empowered those people around me, wow. I mean, everything really started to come together. That might be for a different, that's for a different life. Today, what we're talking about is specifically our leadership styles. So you might hear one today that you say to yourself, I want to be more like that. I want to do more things like that. And then we can figure out how we're going to fill in the gap. So first, let's really talk about what a leadership style is. So leadership style is where it refers to how that leader interacts with their team, their employees, what have you, to accomplish some sort of common goal or vision. There's a lot of different leadership styles out there, but I also think it's really important for us to look at which style works the best for us, how we want to lead our group or our culture. And in all honesty, I always have to plug this. I want you guys to remember though, that the first person we need to learn to lead is ourselves. So you may even hear something in here where you're like, oh my gosh, that's how I'm leading internally as well. And I want that to be different. So let's go through these different styles. So the first one that I want to share with you is actually called the autocratic style. So the autocratic style. In this leadership style, this is where the leader is making all the decisions and has full control over their team. So there's pros and cons to each one of these four different leadership styles, and you'll figure out some of those for yourself. But first of all, this style can actually work really well in a fast-paced or a high-pressure environment. So an example of that is in my restaurant team. I mean, when we are just busy, we are getting slammed. There comes to certain times where people are asking questions, and I just have to be that person that's like, this is what we're going to do. This person's going over there. You kind of look at yourself more as an orchestrator, and getting everybody to their A1 positions, getting things done because it's got to be done quickly and it's got to be done efficiently, and you're putting your aces in their places. But if you allow this to be a long-term leadership style and not just an instance, it can really lead to resentment from team members who are maybe feeling undervalued. Maybe they feel like they're an A1 player, they're aces in their places, and they're not being utilized in an area that they think that they're best at. Or maybe they feel like their voice is not being heard or their opinions are not important. So that's where we have to look at this and we have to go, okay, so this might be situational, maybe for a project or something that we're working on, but it's not going to be an all the time type of leadership style. Okay. The second one that we want to look at is called the democratic leadership style. So the reason this one is next up is because this leader really involves the team in decision-making processes. They take everybody's opinions into consideration, and this style is really great for creating this positive, collaborative work environment. but it also can sometimes lead to people being indecisive and making slow decision making. So, yes, there's a time and a place for us to ask everybody's opinion, take everybody's ideas into consideration. But ultimately, what we have to remember is that we are the leader. We are the person who has to make that final decision. And there is a way to take everybody's information, do your pros and cons, look and see, I did a video on the 7-step decision making, and this is going to fall into this. Once we take everybody's ideas, we figure out what the outcomes could possibly be, we decide what it is that we're going to do next. The good thing about this is that people feel really involved in the decision making. So you're going to be able to get their buy-in if you choose their opinion. So you also have to know that sometimes you're not going to choose one of the opinions that somebody shared, and you have to know how to be able to give that feedback in this type of situation. So ultimately, we have to remember that the choice comes down to us as the leader, and it has to go towards the goal or the target or the vision that we have for the team, the business, the organization. The next one that I want to share with you guys is called the laissez-faire leadership style. So in this one, this style really involves that leader delegating most of the decision making to the team. You're empowering, you're giving them some autonomy to complete the tasks. This can be really great for teams that are creative and innovative, and maybe you have shown that you can trust them to make some of these decisions. But it can also lead to a lack of direction and a lack of accountability. So we also have to remember that although we want to give people that autonomy, we don't allow them to be creative. We want to help them understand how to make decisions and trust them and show that we have trust in them. We have to remember that there still has to be some direction, and that direction can come in the form of questions, which is probably my favorite style. And there also has to be that accountability. So if they make a decision, we can't just say, okay, well, they made a decision and it completely comes back to me. At that point, some of the accountability has to go on the team and the ones that actually made the decision and talk them through it. So instead of me saying, well, I would have done this in that situation, at that point, I have to start asking them some questions because I've allowed them to make these creative decisions, right? So I might say something like, tell me why you made that decision. Tell me what you thought the result might be. Tell me what you thought the outcome would be. Where were you hoping that would take us as a team? So the accountability can also come in the form of questions. And ultimately, if we're empowering those people around us, we want to ask them those questions and get them to think for themselves, right? So the last one I want to share with you guys, and I know I'm going through these quick, is the transformational leadership. So this style is where the leader is really inspiring and motivating their team to work towards that shared vision. And in this, you want to make sure that they know what that shared vision is. So this style can really lead to high levels of engagement, productivity, efficiency. On the flip side, it can also be really demanding and require a lot of energy from the leader because you're creating this engagement, this productivity. You still have to be able to give them some direction. You still have to hold people accountable, and you still have to trust that your people are making those right decisions. This style, however, can really transform and develop some leaders on your team, which is going to be great for our future development of the team, the company, the organization. So how do you find your leadership style? Well, first of all, you could probably look at some of those examples and you can go, oh my gosh, Trienne, that's me. So put down in the comments which one of those seemed to be the one that spoke to you the most. Was it autocratic? Was it democratic? Was that the laissez-faire? Or were you feeling like you're more transformational? Because you probably took on maybe certain parts of one or two of those, but there's one that probably stands out the most. And then also tell me, is there maybe one that stood out to you that you would like to be more like that? Right? So I know for myself, I try to be very transformational, but there are times that I find myself being autocratic because I can make a decision quickly. But then I have to stop and go, okay, if I just continue to give them the answer, what does that look like a month from now? What does that look like a week from now? What does that look like the next time I work with this team? Are they going to be able to perform on their own at the level that expectations I have for my team? So how do we find that style? So I'm going to give you just a couple steps that you can take to try to find your specific style. The number one step is going to be that I want you to engage in some sort of like journaling or self-reflection. You're going to ask yourself questions like, what are my strengths as a leader? What areas do I feel like I need to improve in? And what motivates me as a leader? What motivates me to be that leader? The second thing that you're going to do for a step is that take a look at other leaders. Take a look at other people who you look up to. You want to pay attention to their styles, see what works, see what doesn't, see what maybe you could adapt into your leadership style. And then also maybe you want to seek out some mentorship from a leader that you really look up to, you admire, you respect. And when I was going through a Tony Robbins training, he was like, you want to be a great speaker? Then pay attention to some of the things that a great speaker does. Is there inflection in their voice? Is it storytelling? Is it, the way that they close, the way that they open? Do they ask questions? So maybe you look at somebody that you respect, you admire, you want to be like that person, and gain some mentorship from them, even by just paying attention to the things that they do. The third step that you can do is you can just start to experiment. So try out maybe some different styles, see what feels natural to you. And first of all, don't be afraid to make a mistake. If you learn a lesson from something, no mistake was made. And to me, everything that we're doing is either a lesson or a blessing. If I can look at every situation that happens and say, this happened for me, and this is what I learned from it happening, then it's been a great day, right? All right. So finding your leadership style, I feel like, is really important, both personally and professionally. I've said before, a woman who leads herself can lead others, but understanding your strengths and your opportunities, looking at other leaders, and experimenting with some different styles are some great ways to really find what's going to work best for you and your team. Don't be afraid to try things out. And if you're like, Trienne, I just need a little bit more information, I just need to talk through some of the things that I'm working on. If you're ready to take that next step in your leadership journey, I do have one-on-one strategy calls that you can do with me. We can do a 15-minute connect call. During that call, we're really going to just talk about, your specific goals and your challenges. And I'd love to help you come up with a customized plan, because that's going to help enhance your leadership skills. And I don't want you to miss out on opportunities to be that great leader that you want to be. I think it's really important to remember that we're empowering women to lead with confidence, make an impact, make a difference. And you're here because you want to be that type of leader. If not for a group, then specifically for yourself. So I'd love to work together with you on that. Let me know down below what you got out of this real quick training, and make sure that you tag somebody or get them into this that you feel like needs to see this, because we need more positivity. We need more great leaders in the world. And I would love to be able to share some more of this information with a broader group of people. All right. You guys have a great day. I will see you on the next training. And until then, let's just remember that we are out here to make an impact. We are creating that leadership lifestyle with every decision that we make. I am proud of you. You are showing up, and we'll see you on the next training.